Lovely. Okay, so my name's Jenny Nemko. There's a few people who don't know me, but most people I do know. And I'm really pleased that you're here today. This is an exciting day. It's the first public seminar for TalkMatters, and it's actually we've just been going for 1 month. So the idea for TalkMatters has been brewing in my mind for a long time, and I wanted to show people, starting with the people who are closest to my heart, the Jewish and the interfaith community here in the UK, the good work that is going on in Israel-Palestine, which is so rarely spoken about and little known. So I think it's vital for the UK Jewish and the non-Jewish public to know about the cooperation that's taking place in Israel and in the West Bank, and vital to challenge the polarised views embraced by so many of us that leads to really stereotyping of Arabs and Jews and to a one-sided, very twisted assessment of a very complicated picture of what's happening. And an assessment of Israel, Palestine, and Zionism that is a strong contributory factor to the Jewish and the Muslim hatred that we face here in the UK and in Europe and in the States. So what TalkMatters is aiming to do is to create a space to learn about the two, and often more than two, narratives. And we are not here to fundraise, but to raise awareness of the important and often difficult work that the organizations that we're representing do. And that there's 30 organizations now all doing marvelous work. And really that leads me very neatly to the organization that we have with us here today, Women Wage Peace, and the 4 lovely ladies who are going to talk today. And I know that they're lovely because I've been lucky enough to spend quite a bit of time on Zoom and emailing them, preparing for this meeting. And I want you to also, I think they're lovely, and meet them, Yael, Rafa, Chaim, and Liora, who are going to tell us one by one how they live their lives, how they work together, and what it means to be associated with the Women Wage Peace organization. We're going to start with Yael.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. It is really very, very exciting, and this opportunity to be the first on the first seminar. So we're very grateful, Jenny, to you for the website, for this seminar, for this chance to present our movement. I'm very excited to be here today. My name is Yael Braudo-Bahat. I am one of the 2 co-directors of Women Wage Peace in Israel. It's an Israeli movement. I will tell you a little bit about the movement and about myself. The movement was established in the aftermath of the 2014 Protective Edge operation in Gaza, when a few dozens of women decided that enough is enough. Everyone has, I think Israeli has, and her or his moment of despair during this, not just one moment, but some specific moments of despair that we experienced during this operation 6 years ago. For me, it was the day that I had to wake up in the morning. My youngest son, he was then 10 years old, and had to tell him that his classmate's brother was killed in Gaza. And many women lost their sons, their daughters, friends and family, women whose sons and daughters fought in Gaza, women who were active for peace for many, many decades in Israel, but decided that enough is enough and something has to be done. And then they established the movement. I must admit that I wasn't there from the beginning. I joined the movement in 2016 after the March of Hope. in which we marched throughout all Israel, from the north to the south, and ended up in Jerusalem after marching with our Palestinian partners near the Dead Sea. For me, this was such an exciting, really inspiring, life-changing moment. I wasn't even there. I just saw the photo of this march, and I told myself, this is the time that I need to take an action. I need to be active and join the movement and contribute what I have to give. So this was in 2016. I can say personally, until I joined the movement, I actively, I lived my life like I always say, it's like putting my head down and trying to lead the best life I can, raising my children, completing my PhD, living my life. But I didn't dare to look around, because every time I looked up, I got really desperate. But the movement, joining the movement, gave me hope, and being active gave me hope, and this is what makes me, wake up in the morning every day since. A little bit about myself. I come from the academia. From law. I studied law in Tel Aviv University. The first degree, the LLB, the LLM, and then the PhD. I loved every aspect of academic life except marking papers. I had a chance to be a visiting assistant professor in York University during 2017 for 1 year. I taught Israel studies over there. And then when I came back to Israel 2 years ago, exactly 2 years ago, it was just after I was elected as a steering committee member in Women Wage Peace. And I started, it was a volunteering position, and I started doing it. And then I realized that academia was great and perfect, and I loved it, but it's enough. And now I need to do, I need to be an activist. And so for 1 year, I volunteered, a little bit more than 1 year, I volunteered as a steering committee member. And a few months after I finished my role in the movement, the position of co-directors was opened. I applied, I got accepted. And since the beginning of March, I work in the movement, so I can be a peace activist for, as you say, 24/7. And in the movement, it's literally 24/7 because we work all the time. I'm married. I live in Savion. It's a suburb near Tel Aviv, at the center of Israel. I raise with my husband 2 wonderful sons. One is 19, he's turning 19 at the end of the month, and another is 15 and a half. Both, they're not peace activists, but they really support my husband as well. They're very, very supportive. They don't get to see me a lot. Now a little bit more because I work from home because of the pandemic, but in regular times, I just go out in the morning, come back in the evening, and the house is still going on as usual. And really a few words about the movement, and we'll tell you more about it in the breakout rooms. As I said, it was established in 2014 in the aftermath of a Protective Edge operation. And the women who established it said that we don't want and don't need another left-wing peace movement in Israel. What we need is a diverse women's movement, grassroots movement. And this is our principle since the beginning of the movement. We are non-partisan. We have women from the left and right and center. Women from all over Israel, from cities, from kibbutzim, from settlements. We have religious and secular women. We have Jewish and Arab Muslim and Christian women in the movement. Everyone can find a home in the movement. We also have about 20% registered men. We also have some men who are active in the movement, very, very supportive. But the movement is led by women. Since its initiation and until now. We are non-hierarchical, meaning that we may make the decision together. We have two co-directors, myself included, but we don't make the decisions for the movement. The decisions are being made in a flat, wide, participatory processes, which is a very big challenge for us. But also we believe that this brings about all the creativity of many women, and this is what makes us successful in many regards. We don't advocate for a specific solution. We don't say either the two-state solution or one-state solution or federations or any other solution that's on the table. What we say is that our leaders need to sit down and speak and reach an agreement. So our mission is to reach an agreement between the Israelis and the Palestinians with the active participation of women throughout all stages of negotiation. And this is our cause, this is our mission and our goal. And we don't say what's the right solution. Okay, the right solution is the product of negotiations. This is what we say. We advocate, we are active vis-a-vis the public, the Israeli public, trying to convince more and more people that not only peace is possible, but it is also very, very needed. One of our major obstacles in this regard is the assumption that there is no partner on the other side, and we put many efforts in showing the Israeli public that there is a partner, that the other side also wants peace and is active for peace. And we have Rafa here today with us, our amazing partner from the West Bank, and she'll talk about herself later. And we work vis-a-vis the decision makers, the ministers, the members of the Knesset, trying to convince them that they should promote peace. They should promote solutions, political solutions for the conflict and resolve it. I can tell you for 2 hours what we're doing, what we've done, but I will clear the stage now to Hiyam, my colleague.
Thank you.
Now, good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here and to meet every one of you. So I'm Hiyam Tanous, a Palestinian Arab Christian woman from Haifa. A bit complicated, I will explain later. Haifa is a very beautiful city on the slopes of the Mediterranean Sea. I have 2 sons and 4 adorable grandchildren, which I'm ready to make everything in order to give them a better future. I'm a retired senior supervisor in counseling from the Ministry of Education. I was in charge of 500 counselors, Jewish and Arabs, where we worked on several subjects in psychology and therapy in order that they could help schools, teachers, parents, and pupils to fulfill their maximum potentials and be in their wellness from a point of psychological awareness. This is why I believe that psychological healing and emotional awareness and a passion to safety and wellness can bring people together. As I mentioned before, I was born in Haifa after the independence of the Jewish state, and I grew up with hostility towards a state which took my freedom away, especially on my parents' narrative, since my 2 aunts were expelled in the 48 and I never have seen them again. While growing up and merging with the Israeli society, meeting people, I came to a conclusion that we can talk about the conflict. An agreement is possible that the human beings are the most precious people on earth, and that God Almighty gave us the blessing and opportunities of listening, to discuss, and to reconcile, since we are just guests in this world. My love, my belief in human beings, and my concern both for the Palestinians and the Israeli people, and as an Arab exposed to both cultures, I said that really we can be mediators to both. And this belief that encounters can reduce the conflict brought me to an active to be an active member of promoting dialogues between the Jewish and Palestinian people, including the Palestinian Authority, even during my work. I was involved in several activities before meeting the movement in order to bring light and hope to both sides. In October 2016, while I was watching the TV, I saw around 30,000 women marching in the Dead Sea, all of them wearing white and turquoise. I started asking, who are these movements? Then I came to know that this is Women Wage Peace. I said, oh my God, I want to be there. So because I felt that we are living in despair sometimes. If we come to a political agreement, it will bring true security to our region, and this is what this movement is giving us. This is how I came to know about the movement and to believe that women who give birth and life should do everything in order to keep that life. Since I was born, I have been through so much war in the region, and I believe that we women, from the deep despair of the multiple wars, we have the responsibility to reclaim hope and a viable future for our children, to reach an honorable and acceptable political agreement to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Our careful, inclusive language, with our mandate of no blaming and no shaming to both sides, which reminded me of healing the bruises and the inside wounds of the individual, gave me hope that really it can be possible. In 1816, I was for 1 year on the steering wheel of the movement. That year, I felt the greatness and the powerful meaning of the movement. I met gorgeous women who saw me as an equal. And they are ready to work 24/7 in order to bring peace and security to the region. Something else which made me be in this movement and to believe that peace could be when I met Leora. You know, we, the Arabs, Palestinians living in Israel, we were so against this settlement. And I used when to think about settlers, I said, no, I will never ever talk with them. But when I met Leora, a wonderful woman we will see there, I said, oh my God, she's a settler, but she's just a nice lady. Why I'm so much against all this settlement? Let's hear her narrative. And this is how I came also to meet Leora and to feel that really we can be mediators. I can bring the story or the narrative of Leora to my Palestinian friends, Arab friends, because you have to know something. There are Palestinians living in the West Bank like Rafah, and I'm a Palestinian Israeli who live in Israel. It's very difficult for us. From one side, we want peace and security for the Palestinians. From the other side, we want also peace and security for the Israeli. So we are always in conflict, always thinking about both sides. And it's not easy. It's not easy because when sometimes I hear about a child of my friend who is injured in the army, I feel so bad because he like my son. And when I hear someone who is hurt also in the West Bank, I also feel bad because maybe I know his parents. So we are really, the Arab, Palestinian, Israeli are so much living in conflict that for us, we really need, an agreement to both sides that really we can live much better. The region here is boiling and we have to do something. This is, I believe in that movement. And I believe that we have a vital role as women to bring peace and security, not just to Israel and to Palestine, also to all the Middle East. So let's listen now to Rafa. Rafa or Leora? Rafa. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rafa. I was born in Nablus. I'm located right now in Ramallah. It's in the middle of West Bank. I'm pure Palestinian, born and live in Palestine and West Bank. I'm very glad to meet all these wonderful ladies and be at the first version for such a good series to talk about serious issues. I'm a peace activist since I was really young when I was at school. My family never believed in any kind of violence. They are well educated. And I'm a journalist with a master in democracy and human rights. I totally believe that two-state solution is my choice because I need to live with my neighbor country, in my country within a neighbor country called Israel. So I totally believe in that. Recent, which is moving us to one-state solution, even though I still proud to be Palestinian, hold a Palestinian passport, and have my own state beside the neighbor state called Israel. And that supports me to be a peace activist too, because I totally believe we have the right to live in peace and security as much as the Israelis, the neighbors, need it. And being a peace activist, when I was in school, I was active with Seeds of Peace as like an organization for young people. And then I started to be engaged with more international programs within Palestinians, Israelis, European one. And lately, when I heard about a pure women peace movement interested in gathering Palestinian who lives in Israel and Israelis, no matter their color is, no matter their religion is, and they believe peace must be raised this time, this period. As women, I felt so proud to be part of women movement. It had that power in the streets. They have women wage peace, they have 50,000 participants in the Israeli streets. And that's never happened before, truly. I can't guarantee about the Middle East in general, but I can say it for sure in Israel. So this movement, which work hard within a name of women, whose they are like 50% in the Israeli society, as much as women are 50% in the Palestinian society. So I totally believe that now it's the time for Palestinian women and Israeli women to raise their voices and ask for peace and for a fair solution in order to live as a normal people in the other side of the world, in any other country in the world. So it wasn't, let's say, sudden that to meet settler ladies in a peace movement, because it was a movement for everybody. So I was like pretty sure there must be settler ladies there, because as I grow up, know that the other, it's not just an Israeli soldier who always stopped me in a checkpoint. There must be a civilian there, and there must be a good people in the other side. So I totally believe that the young Israeli settlers who's attacking us in the mountains while we are hiking in the mountains, trying to harvesting olives, or trying to visit a friend who's living in a village just surrounded with Israeli settlement. Everybody there is really unleashed and aggressive and attackers. There must be a good people there living there too, and they want to have peace too, and they want to talk to their neighbors who's they are the Palestinians, and they are in the same spot called West Bank. So being in a movement with all of this diversity, it supports me to say more about, yes, it's right now is the right time for saying yes for women to do more work towards peace and to be more heard in both societies, and to be in our positions at the leading positions, at the decision-making positions, and to be at the negotiation teams, and to be at the serious talk teams, and to meet both sides and discuss each, like every single details, in order to support our rights in our countries to live in peace. I'm single, I'm not married, for example, because I'm totally terrified one of my kids to face the same checkpoints that I spend most of my time passing them, or to be pointed by a gun directly to my head because I've been in a wrong road which is leading to settlement, or to be stopped in a checkpoint just because I want to enter Jerusalem to participate in peace activism, and be stopped and searched for more than 30 minutes, and sometimes it could take you 2 hours because I'm just Palestinian holding Palestinian ID. Simply, it's the time to say yes for peace, no for war, and work hard within women and men in the both societies. And what's happening right now in Israel, it's really supporting me to raise my voice in my society, say, yes, there is people there want peace, and I want to want peace too here in Palestine. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us.
Thank you. Now, Leora.
Okay, so hi everyone.
No.
So I'm Leora, I'm the fourth, I'm the last of the four of us. And it's an honor to be here. So thanks for inviting me. And I think Rafa has basically said everything that I wanted to say. So I'll start with saying that, like I said, my name is Leora Hadar. I'm a mother of 4 young children, and my husband works in the Israeli army. I live in a small settlement in the Shomron, in the West Bank, Samaria, not so far from Nablus and Ramallah. So I always tell Rafa we're neighbors. I live today in a community that's a mixed community, religious Jews and secular Jews living together in our settlement, which is pretty special. And I was born and raised most of my childhood in Haifa, like Yam. But my parents actually are from the States originally, and they moved to Israel before I was born, after they got married. And so when I was young, we lived in the States and in Canada as well for quite a few years. So I kind of grew up between the States and Canada and Israel. I grew up in a modern Orthodox family. My parents made Aliyah from very ideological Zionist reasons, the dream to raise their children in the Jewish homeland. And I was part of the religious youth movement of Bnei Akiva, etc., etc. About 8 years ago, we moved to Alei Zahav, which is where I live today, in the Shomron. And when we moved here, I realized that growing up as a child in Haifa, I would see Arabs, I would see Israeli Arabs, you know, in Haifa mostly. And also afterwards, when I studied my bachelor's and my master's degree, I had, you know, Arabs who were students next to me, you know, sitting with me in classes, and they were really nice, etc. But I didn't know Palestinians at all. Once we moved, Palestinians who live in the West Bank, I mean. And then when I moved to Alei Zahav, then suddenly I realized that we have Palestinian villages all around us, and there's no way of actually like meeting the Palestinian woman who's just across the road. There isn't really a way. And I started getting curious, and I had this dream of somehow meeting the Palestinian women who live in the Palestinian village next to me, and discovering what it's like for them to be a mother, what it's like for them to be a wife, what are their dreams, what are their hopes, what are their worries, what are their fears, how can we connect as, you know, as mothers, as human beings. Then I got acquainted with Women Who Wage Peace, and that was like a wow for me, because it actually gave me the opportunity to be a peace activist, even though I live in a settlement in the West Bank, because I also believe in a nonviolent solution for the conflict. And also it helped me find ways to meet with Palestinian women, wonderful women like Rafa and other women, many women that I've met, and to hear their stories and to hear their narratives, and also to be able to explain what it is for me to live in the West Bank and why do I choose to live here. So this was very important for me, and to actually hear each other, to hear that we can all hear each other and listen and really understand that where we live is important for all of us. But in the end, we're all here to stay, you know, and we're all in the same boat. And if we rock that boat, then we're all going to be rocked. And if we flip the boat, we're all going to flip. And I see it no other way than learning to live in peace, side by side, living together. And what was good for me about Women Wage Peace was that, like Yael described, it's a nonpartisan movement. We're not affiliated with specific party. It's, for me, it's not left or right or center. It's about any woman who wants to join and be active in trying to pave the way towards a peaceful solution, towards a bilateral honorable agreement that is not another war and not another military operation with more wounded and more dead and more bloodshed. So that's why I'm in Women Wage Peace, because I believe that that's the way. Like I said, my husband works in the army. He has very different opinions than me. So I don't have any support in my house, but I have support from my friends in Women Wage Peace. Also in my community, I'm kind of looked upon as a bit strange, but yeah, so it's okay. They got used to me over the past 5 years. Sometimes jokes and like that, but not, you know, really serious frowning upon. And I'm hoping that slowly, even the areas where I live, there will slowly be more and more like peaceful, like peace work, okay? Also in the settlements in the West Bank, and it is already happening, okay? A few years ago already, there are different initiatives that are happening on the ground in Judea and Samaria. Palestinians and settlers actually meeting and starting discussions and listening to each other, and it's fantastic. It's amazing. It's another thing, another forum that I'm part of, and it's really wow. And so I'm hoping that slowly, it's hard to be one of the first people who do it, but we will, you know, open a path for others to join as well. And I do want to also mention that this year I'm part of the steering committee, which is also something crazy when you have 4 little kids and a husband who's not home so much, but somehow I'm managing. Corona has helped a lot in that sense, that everything's moved to Zoom so I can do things from the house. So like one good point about Corona, but yeah, so it's been like a bit of a crazy year right now in the middle of it, but it's also, it's been fascinating to be part of the steering committee, to be part of of that small group of women that's trying to make sure everything is working together and everything is like kind of making sure that in such a large movement that we know the right hand is doing what the left hand knows about what the other hand is doing, and that things are working, everything's coordinated, and also, you know, deciding about what kind of paths we want to do this year, what are our main goals, all that kind of thinking, and it's really fascinating for me. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Well, I think that's it for now. My children already know that their mother is in Women Wage Peace, and it's very special for me, and I'm happy about that my children are aware of that, because they grow up in an environment here where it's like peace is like a word that's, you know, non-possible. So